These motorcycles waste your money, ruin your back, and make you look like you've never touched a wrench. This isn't just a list, it's a warning. If you care about riding, you need to know what to avoid. Is your bike on this list, or are you just pretending it's badass? Stick around till the end, because it only gets worse from here. Number 7. Boss Hoss V8, the motorcycle that hates you. There is excess, and then there is the Boss Hoss. This is not a motorcycle built for riding. It is a rolling monument to overkill. It exists at the intersection of absurd engineering and reckless ambition, where common sense was clearly left in the drafting room. While most motorcycles balance power with control, the Boss Hoss skips balance entirely and bolts a full-sized car engine between two wheels just to see what happens. It produces between 445 and 563 pound-feet of torque from a 6,200 cubic centimeters Chevrolet small block V8 engine, delivering up to 450 horsepower. Braking is handled by dual disc brakes in the front and a single disc in the rear. Suspension includes conventional telescopic forks up front and dual shocks in the rear. Wet weight is over 1,100 pounds. Seat height is 24 inches. Starting price begins at $40,000, with higher trim versions reaching $60,000. This machine weighs more than some compact cars and has a turning radius that could rival a sailboat. Parking it is a chore, low-speed maneuvering is a hazard, and every stoplight feels like a hostage situation. The rear tire is not a motorcycle tire, it's a full car tire. That alone should be enough to raise eyebrows. The heat pouring off the V8 is relentless. Every stoplight becomes a sauna session for your thighs, and when it comes to fuel, you are getting around 10 to 15 miles per gallon, burning through premium like a private jet with no destination. Throttle response is violent. It does not ease forward. It lunges. The moment you twist that throttle, the rear wheel lights up like a drag strip. You are no longer riding a motorcycle. You are strapped to a chrome-plated cannonball. Handling is not a feature. It is a suggestion. Corners are not carved. They are survived. You do not lean, you brace. There is no practicality, no comfort, no versatility. It is not a tourer, not a cruiser, and certainly not a daily rider. It is a novelty for the kind of rider who values spectacle over sanity. If you think you need 400 horsepower to feel alive, this is your midlife crisis wrapped in chrome. Worse still, the ride offers no reward. You're not experiencing torque in a refined, usable way. You are just hanging on, white-knuckled, hoping the road stays straight. And if it tips over, you are not picking it back up. You're calling a flatbed. The Boss Hoss is not a motorcycle in the traditional sense. It is a display piece, a showboat, a flex of mechanical bravado that costs a fortune to own and offers almost nothing in return beyond disbelief. It is not engineered for road trips or performance or daily riding. It is engineered to exist for the sake of existing. Riding this isn't about freedom. It's about surviving the consequences of your own bad decision. The next bike on this list proves that outrageous design and an inflated price tag can still lead to complete failure. If Honda's lineup surprises you, or you've owned one of these bikes, hit like and share your take in the comments. Real-world feedback matters here. Number 6. Honda Rune, the $30,000 chrome catastrophe. Every so often, a motorcycle rolls off the production line that looks more like a designer's fever dream than a machine meant for real roads. The Rune fits that description perfectly. Built on the bones of a proven platform, this bike tried to turn the Goldwing into a showpiece and ended up with 850 pounds of polished metal that rides like a question mark. It produces 118 horsepower from an 1,832 cubic centimeters flat 6 engine, delivering 125 pound-feet of torque. Braking is managed by dual disc brakes up front and a single disc in the rear. The suspension features trailing bottom link front forks and a single rear shock absorber. Wet weight is 850 pounds. Seat height is 27.2 inches. When it launched in 2004, pricing started at $29,999. The Rune wasn't built for performance, it wasn't built for comfort, and it certainly wasn't built for the real world. It was built to draw attention, and that it did, for all the wrong reasons. Honda took the engineering brilliance of the gold wing and shoved it into a frame covered in chrome, curved panels, and exaggerated lines that looked more at home in an art gallery than on asphalt. Ergonomics were a disaster. The stretched-out front end gave the Rune the silhouette of a custom chopper, but the rider triangle told a different story. Handlebars were positioned far enough forward to strain the arms, while the pegs folded the legs awkwardly beneath the rider. The end result was a bike that looked aggressive but felt awkward, especially on anything tighter than a straight highway. Cornering? Forget it. The Rune's geometry was so long and so low that turning at low speeds felt like dragging a grand piano through a grocery store aisle. Add in the weight and you've got a machine that fights every input with a kind of stubbornness usually reserved for livestock. Despite its massive engine, the power delivery felt misused. That big flat six had potential, but it was throttled by the Rune's form-over-function design. The pipes were sculpted, the radiator was polished, the fenders were sculptural, but none of it translated into a better riding experience. It was beauty without purpose, complexity without logic. To make things worse, Honda priced the Rune like it was made of gold. At just under $30,000, it sat in showroom corners collecting dust while riders scratched their heads. And within 2 years, it was gone, discontinued without fanfare, with fewer than 3,000 ever sold in the United States. These days, Rune owners claim it's a collectible. But let's be honest, it's rare because nobody wanted one. It wasn't misunderstood. It was just a bad idea that looked good under lights but fell apart on the road. What makes the Rune such a failure isn't just the weight or the ergonomics or the laughable practicality, it's that it never knew what it was supposed to be. Cruiser, concept, tourer, showpiece. It tried to be all and ended up being none. The Rune may have been too weird to succeed, but the next bike, it's a clone that never had a chance. These bikes are disasters. Your gear doesn't have to be. Grab the good stuff from our affiliate links below. Number 5. Hyosung GT250 R, the knockoff nobody asked for. Every motorcycle enthusiast has heard the phrase, "You get what you pay for." In the case of the GT250R, what you pay for is a motorcycle that looks fast standing still and rides like disappointment in motion. Styled like a Japanese sport bike but missing the quality, refinement, and reliability, this machine represents what happens when imitation outruns ability. It produces 28 horsepower from a 249 cubic centimeters V-twin engine, delivering 16.7 pound-feet of torque. Braking is handled by a single disc up front and another in the rear. The suspension includes standard telescopic front forks and a monoshock rear setup. Wet weight is 375 pounds with a seat height of 32.7 inches. Pricing when new was around $4,000. On paper, this might sound like a decent entry-level sport bike, but the moment you twist the throttle, the illusion falls apart. Acceleration is sluggish, throttle response is uneven, and the engine vibrates more than it revs. The GT250R might look like a competitor to the Ninja 250 or the CBR 300, but in practice it falls miles behind. One of the first issues riders notice is the weight. Despite having similar displacement to its rivals, the GT250R is heavier, making it feel clumsy and slow. Handling is uninspiring, cornering feels uncertain, and the suspension delivers all the refinement of a shopping cart. At low speeds, it feels twitchy. At high speeds, it feels unstable. Build quality is a recurring complaint. Body panels feel brittle. Gaps between fairings are inconsistent, and the switchgear looks and feels cheap. Owners report everything from loose fasteners to misaligned plastics fresh from the factory. And then there's the electrical system, known for mysterious gremlins that cause lights to flicker, gauges to fail, and starters to click into nothingness. Reliability suffers, not just because of poor components, but also due to the lack of dealer support. Parts are often difficult to find and wait times stretch into weeks or even months. Finding a mechanic familiar with the brand can be a challenge in itself, especially in rural or smaller markets. Then comes the resale value, or more accurately, the complete lack of it. The GT250 R depreciates almost immediately. List it online and you'll be lucky to get half of what you paid, even if it's barely been ridden. Many sellers end up holding on to them far longer than planned simply because there are no takers. For riders who truly need a budget bike, there are better options with stronger track records, better aftermarket support, and proven performance. The GT250R is not one of them. It attempts to wear the costume of a serious sport bike but never earned the credentials. Every motorcycle has a purpose. Some are built for speed, some for distance, some for learning. The GT250R was built to look like it belonged, but never proved that it did. It's a beginner bike that feels like a bad decision before the first ride is over. At least the GT250R pretends to be a sport bike. Our next one doesn't even know what it's trying to be. Number 4. Honda DN01, the identity crisis on wheels. Motorcycles are usually built with a purpose, whether it's carving canyons, cruising highways, or commuting through city traffic. The DN01, however, seems to have skipped that meeting entirely. This machine is what happens when a design team can't decide what it's building and chooses to say yes to everything. The result? A hybrid of scooter, cruiser, and sport bike that fails miserably at being any of them. It produces 61 horsepower from a 682 cubic centimeters V-twin engine, delivering 47 pound-feet of torque braking, is managed by dual disc brakes up front and a single disc in the rear, equipped with a combined anti-lock braking system. The suspension includes a standard telescopic fork in the front and a single rear shock. Wet weight is 595 pounds. Seat height is 27.2 inches. When it launched in 2009, the starting price was $14,599. From the moment you approach it, the DN01 feels off. The styling is futuristic in the way old science fiction movies imagined the year 2000. With flowing bodywork and a bulbous fairing, it's a look that might work on a concept sketch, but feels out of place in the real world. It wants to be sleek, but it ends up looking bulky. It wants to be sporty, but it's soft around every edge. The riding position is a contradiction. Feet-forward pegs suggest cruiser comfort, but the handlebars are low and awkwardly positioned, more in line with a sport bike. The result is a rider triangle that strains the back and arms without delivering any of the performance payoff you'd expect. Even short rides leave you wondering what this bike was trying to accomplish. Storage space is non-existent, making it useless for commuting or weekend trips. Passenger accommodations are poor, and the seat, while low, is not particularly comfortable for long stints. It lacks saddlebags, compartments, or even the utility you'd find on most modern scooters. It looks like it should do more, but it doesn't. Then there's the transmission. Honda marketed its continuously variable automatic transmission as the human-friendly transmission, but there's nothing friendly about it. It's sluggish off the line, uninspiring in motion, and robs the engine of any real engagement. The V-twin has potential, but it's strangled by the rubber band effect of the CVT. There's no shifting, no engine feedback, no mechanical involvement, just the dull hum of disappointment. With a price tag nearing $15,000 when new, the DN01 cost more than bikes that outperformed it in every category. You could buy a proper cruiser, a capable touring bike, or even a mid-range sport machine for less, and each would have a clear identity and function. The DN01 only had confusion. In the years since its short production run, the DN01 has developed a strange cult, following among collectors who appreciate its uniqueness. But uniqueness doesn't make a good motorcycle. What the DN01 proves is that compromise, when taken too far, leads to something that satisfies no one. There's no reason to revisit this design. It wasn't ahead of its time. It wasn't misunderstood. It was just a misguided experiment from a company that usually knows better. Even Honda fans don't defend it. Most just shake their heads and move on. Confusion is bad, but sometimes silence is worse. especially when it costs you 30 grand. Number 3. Harley-Davidson LiveWir, the $30,000 whisper. Electric motorcycles were supposed to represent the future. For a brand rooted in tradition and thunder, pivoting to that future was always going to be a delicate process. The LiveWir was Harley-Davidson's answer to the changing world, a bold attempt to redefine itself. But instead of revolutionizing the market, this sleek, silent cruiser rolled off the line with a thud heard only in accounting departments. It produces 105 horsepower from an electric powertrain delivering 86 pound-feet of torque braking, is handled by dual-disc front brakes and a single rear disc, with a full anti-lock braking system standard. The suspension features fully adjustable Showa front forks and a rear monoshock. Wet weight is 549 pounds. Seat height is 30 inches. When it launched in 2019, the starting price was $29,799. In a vacuum, the LiveWir has merit. Instant torquey sharp acceleration and refined build quality. It sprints from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. That's quick. But real-world riding doesn't happen in vacuums, and what the LiveWir gains in numbers, it loses in soul. Harley-Davidson riders never asked for silent speed. They wanted presence, personality, and connection. The LiveWir offers none of that. There's no engine rumble, no shifting, no heartbeat. The moment you twist the throttle, it responds, fast and silent. But the absence of sound removes the very essence of what made Harley special. Riding it feels clinical, clean, cold. It lacks the mechanical feedback that defines the riding experience for most Harley owners. Then comes the issue of range. At best, riders get 146 miles in the city. On highways, that number dips closer to 90. And if you ride hard or use full acceleration, expect even less. Long-distance travel, a core part of Harley's identity, becomes a carefully calculated chore, with charging stops replacing scenic overlooks. On a standard home outlet, charging can take overnight. Even fast charging requires 45 minutes to reach 80%. For an electric motorcycle to succeed, it needs to deliver more than novelty. It needs value, practicality, and appeal. The LiveWir came with none of those. It cost more than Harley's top touring bikes while offering far less usability. Riders weren't just hesitant, they were baffled. And the resale market? It's punishing. Depreciation hit hard. Units that sold for nearly $30,000 are now listed for under $15,000, and many still go unsold. Riders who bought early found themselves with a machine they couldn't use the way they wanted and couldn't get rid of without a steep financial loss. In trying to appeal to a new demographic, the LiveWir alienated its base. And the new riders Harley hoped to attract? They were already looking elsewhere, at cheaper, more versatile electric models with real-world functionality and support. This was never about rejecting innovation, it was about execution. The LiveWir is an electric motorcycle that forgot to be a Harley. It was launched with buzzwords, style, and high expectations, but no real path to long-term ownership satisfaction. In the end, the LiveWir didn't fail because it was electric. It failed because it lacked identity, practicality, and value. It offered the future, just not the one any rider wanted to live in. From one overpriced mistake to another, our next bike is what happens when Italian beauty meets financial tragedy. Number 2. Ducati Monster 937. The expensive disappointment. A name like Monster should promise muscle, menace, and mechanical excellence. And at first glance, the Ducati Monster 937 delivers. Its sculpted lines, minimalist frame, and iconic Italian styling make it one of the most visually striking naked bikes on the market. But dig beneath the surface, and the truth is far less flattering. This is a motorcycle that offers just enough excitement to tempt you, and just enough headache to make you regret it. It produces 111 horsepower from a 937 cubic centimeters L-twin engine. Delivering 69 pound-feet of torquey braking is handled by dual-disc Brembo brakes in the front and a single disc in the rear with a full anti-lock braking system as standard. Suspension consists of a 43mm inverted fork up front and a progressive linkage monoshock in the rear. Wet weight is 366 pounds. Seat height is 32.3 inches. Starting price lands at $12,500. On the road, the Monster offers agile handling and satisfying mid-range torque. It's quick, it's responsive, and it definitely turns heads, but the moment you look past the surface, the compromises become hard to ignore. For one, the seating position is more cramped than aggressive. Riders above average height often find themselves squeezed into an uncomfortable triangle that makes longer rides feel like a chore. Then there's the heat. Like many air-cooled Ducati engines before it, the Monster's L-Twin throws off considerable warmth, particularly in city traffic. Combined with its high-strung nature and eager throttle, the bike becomes tiring to ride in stop-and-go conditions. But the real disappointment begins after the sale. Ducati is known for beautiful engineering and expensive upkeep. Valve inspections are required more frequently than on Japanese counterparts, and they cost more when they come. Regular maintenance involves specialty tools, trained technicians, and a willingness to hand over a credit card with a high limit. The Monster may be priced competitively on paper, but once you start adding up service intervals, it quickly climbs into premium territory. Resale value is another issue. Like many Ducatis, the Monster depreciates rapidly. Riders who paid full sticker price often find themselves listing barely used bikes for thousands less within a year or two, often to little interest. It's a tough market because it competes directly with better-equipped, lower-cost machines like the Yamaha MT-09, Suzuki GSX-8S, and KTM Duke models, all of which offer comparable power and superior value. The Monster tries to strike a balance between performance and practicality, but it ends up landing in a narrow no-man's land. Too aggressive for new riders, too basic for experienced ones, and too expensive for anyone looking to ride without a spreadsheet and a savings account. There's no denying the appeal of the Ducati badge. It carries weight, it sparks envy. But that brand power doesn't come cheap, and with the Monster 937, it doesn't come with enough substance to justify the cost. The ride is decent, the styling is sharp. But the ownership experience? That's where it unravels. For a motorcycle named Monster, it delivers more pain than power. And when stacked against rivals that offer more tech, better reliability, and a fraction of the maintenance hassle, the Monster 937 starts to look less like a dream and more like an expensive lesson in priorities. Still here? That means you care about what's next. Subscribe now. We break stories the mainstream bike media won't touch. All these mistakes pale in comparison to the final entry, a plastic toy that somehow cost almost $1,000. Number 1. Indian eFTR Junior, the $950 joke. There are motorcycles built for performance. Others are built for distance, for comfort, or for style. But every now and then, a machine comes along that leaves you wondering if it was ever meant to be ridden at all. The eFTR Junior is that machine. A miniature electric motorcycle designed for children, somehow repackaged and marketed as a legitimate product for grown adults. It produces approximately 3 horsepower from a compact electric motor powered by a 24-volt rechargeable battery. Braking is handled by standard mechanical disc brakes on both the front and rear. Suspension consists of a basic telescopic front fork and a rear monoshock, suitable for light-duty use. Dry weight is 175 pounds. Seat height is 23.5 inches. Starting price is $949. At first glance, the eFTR Junior looks like a scaled-down flat-track replica, complete with Indian's branding, race-style paint, and a low-slung silhouette. But the moment you realize what it actually is, a glorified electric toy, the novelty wears off quickly. With a top speed of just 15 miles per hour, this machine can barely outrun a brisk jog. And with a battery life that maxes out at roughly 140 minutes on low mode, rides are over before they even begin. Designed originally for children ages 8 and up, the eFTR Junior somehow ended up on showroom floors as a conversation piece for adults. Indian leaned hard into the nostalgia angle, But that marketing push has led to some truly baffling purchases. Grown men are spending nearly $1,000 on a toy that offers no practical use, no street legality, and no long-term value. This is not a pit bike, it's not a training tool, it's not even a functioning vehicle in the traditional sense. It has no headlight, no turn signals, no horn, and no license plate bracket. It cannot be registered for road use, and it is too small and underpowered to be safely operated by a full-sized adult. What it does offer is embarrassment. Riding one around the yard might draw a laugh, once. But try explaining it to your riding buddies or justifying the price when compared to a used, full-sized 250, and it quickly becomes clear you didn't buy a motorcycle. You bought a prop, a toy, a novelty item designed to sit in a garage until the battery dies and the decals peel. Even Indian seems unsure how to position it. It's not listed under youth dirt bikes, nor is it found among their street offerings. It occupies a strange space in the catalog, half marketing stunt, half collector bait, and entirely unnecessary. While other manufacturers build bikes that evolve the riding experience, the eFTR Junior feels like a regression. It offers none of the thrills, none of the danger, and none of the freedom that define motorcycling. It is quite literally child's play, with an adult price tag. You could argue that it's fun. You could argue that it's unique, but at nearly $1,000, what you're really paying for is a plastic frame, limited range, and the illusion of relevance. This isn't about performance or practicality, it's about pretending and paying dearly for the privilege. The rules of the road are changing, and some brands are being left behind. But the real shock? What Honda just revealed might push Harley further off the map than ever before. If you want to see the lineup that's making Milwaukee sweat, that's where you need to go next. And if this video hit home, like, comment, and subscribe, because the future just arrived and it's not waiting.